I don't think any conference goes away without getting to hear a story or an adventure of bug bounty hunters. And Nalcon has a lot of fan following when it comes to bug bounty hunters because India dominates the world when it comes to bug hunters. So our next talk is going to be by Yuvraj and Shreyas, who are Google bug bounty hunters, and they are going to talk about their journey and adventures when it comes to bug bounty. So Yuvraj and Shreyas, over to you.
Hi, Antriksh. Hi.
Hi, Antriksh.
Hello, everybody here.
Hello.
Hi.
So, Antriksh, I'll just take a moment to share my screen and let's start it immediately. Yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, so namaste and good afternoon to everyone present here. I, Yuvraj Dighe, and
I, Shreyas Dighe,
would be your host this afternoon and will take you through the adventurous drive of bug hunting at Google VRP, one of the dream programs for every security researcher out there.
So before we begin, I would like to know how many present here are active bug hunters on Google VRP. You could just, simply raise your hands in the chat panel and we would have the responses.
I don't think anyone is hacking Google. Let's continue.
Okay, so good to know that amongst the remaining ones, probably I think there could be some people who are hunting bugs elsewhere, or perhaps who aspire to have that golden moment where they would have their final first vulnerability that they have discovered in one of the Google platforms. And lastly, there could be people who are inquisitive about what bug hunting actually is and are keen to know that as to how they could aspire and become some bug hunter. So we hope this session is fruitful and beneficial for each one of you present here.
So
let's begin with by walking down.
Yeah, sure. So we both belong to Indore, better known as the cleanest city in the country today. So any Indoris out there? Yeah, any Indoris? So
I think there are no response. But okay, and we have we both are engineers by background, and while I have pursued my BTech in computers in 2018, Yuvraj is still pursuing his BTech in CSIT and belongs to the batch of 2022.
Yeah, so the journey at Google VRP began in 2019, and today we are ranked as 40th on the Google Bug Hunter Hall of Fame. That is in about just 1.5 years. Okay, and additionally, specifically in our country, it feels proud to be amongst the top Indian researchers at Google VRP.
Right. So let's take a quick glimpse as to how things began. We both have borrowed or perhaps inherited the fascination and inclination towards technology from a father who happens to own an IT company. And
yeah, so in the quest of securing the applications developed there, I began playing around with some renowned, we can say, travel partners in India. And that's how I found my first bug in one of the travel partners, which was just a simple HTML injection bug.
There's a fun fact here that those were the days when differentiating between the types of excesses was also not known, since we had no prior experience, no certifications, no pursued, trainings or courses, nothing. And later in the same year, then we subscribed to HackerOne, which is, a popular bug bounty platform. And we keep participating in several public and private programs there. And since we have had no prior experience or perhaps no course or training driven knowledge, then we always had that hesitation, that hesitation continually fueled to, we resisted exploring any kind of ecosystems of the, the global acronym FANG, that is the applications of Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, or even Google. So the journey at Google probably began in 2019, and I think Yuvraj would be, explaining much. He would take it.
Yeah, so I still remember that afternoon in 2019 when I was preparing for my end semester exams. So while having my Burp proxy on, I was playing around with Google Calendar for an upcoming event. And voila, I could not believe that I had finally hit the jackpot and had discovered my first vulnerability in Google product. The feeling of joy can only be lived, and I cannot express it right now. And anyway, so that is when the journey at Google VRP began. The entire year was fun-filled and adventurous with diverse types of vulnerabilities discovered. It was an honor to hear from Google VRP in Feb 2020, that is last year, when they sent out an invite to talk at NullCon 2020. But because of COVID-19, we had decided to opt out of the conference. But things turned favorable again. And in 2021, again, I received an email from Google that I am among the top Indian researchers and I'm being invited to talk at NullCon, and which is why we are your host today. So now we'll present the VRP profile insights, our VRP profile insights, in fact. So till now, we have explored more than 10 Google products and have reported more than 50 vulnerabilities to Google itself in a span of 1.5 years. And the severities have been depicted in the chart. And currently our rank is 40th in the Bug Hunter Hall of Fame. And till now, we have received 2 research grants, including the pandemic tailored special COVID-19 research grant.
That reminds me, has anyone ever heard of a program which complements a bug bounty program, but has a simple yet separate objective, and that is to support research and researchers even when no vulnerabilities are found? Well, that's the Vulnerability Research Grant Program driven by Google. So, in other words, a frequent and sincere researcher would not go home disappointed, even if providing and provisioning a grant to the researcher. Additionally, if a vulnerability is found out, based on the research that is performed during the grant period, then in addition to the grant amount, the bug also becomes eligible for the reward as per the existing Google VRP policies. The grant amount then varies from $500 USD to 3133.7, which is the acronym, or perhaps the typical payout by Google, 3133, 1337, the numerical trends that they obey there. So it's the grant payouts range from 500 USD to 3133 USD, and the program is also designed to encompass and every possible scenario, or perhaps every possible application that belongs to Google's ecosystem. So be it any kind of newly launched services and products, be it any sensitive information containing products or services, or perhaps any vulnerability that was spotted in one of the Google products is automatically replicated. The fix of the vulnerability is replicated to the entire Google portfolio of the numerous applications. And lastly, of course, any kind of product or feature abuses, so that is also taken care of as a part of research. So together, the research program is driven this way. And before Yuvraj, sorry for the interruption. Before I move on, I also wanted to mention about a special research grant that was initiated or incepted by Google during the COVID-19 pandemic. While the world was fighting and there was a lot of uncertainty in terms of what would be the future, how things would take forward, or how the world would be in the new pandemic or post-pandemic era, Google initiated a COVID-19 grant and granted this to every researcher who had reported at least a couple of vulnerabilities at Google VRP. In this way, they had custom tailored this COVID-19 pandemic grant, and we are thankful, to the VRP team for this one.
That's right. I would like to just define the amount which was provided by the Google team, because it is a large sum for Indian people. So the amount was 1337 USDs, which was provided in COVID-19 research grants. So like that amount was very useful for all of the researchers. Now taking things forward, let me illustrate what boosts the adrenaline levels during the adventurous bug hunting. So while this is something subjective, we have tried to portray our perspective here with the rising level of inquisitiveness or curiosity. Primarily, we focus on 4 pillars while exploring vulnerabilities. So taking one by one each of them. So the first one is business logic errors. So I'll take with an example. So assume an e-commerce portal from where you wish to purchase a favorite laptop whose market is XYZ INR. So what if you are able to purchase this one for free or even for less price? Well, that's possible. For instance, if the checkout option mishandles pricing and you are able to apply 100% discount, or not 100%, or 10, 15, 20% discount also, or negative pricing you can set. Similar could be a scenario to book free cab rides or buy flight or hotel tickets for free. These all are nothing but business logic errors, where the implementation of application business logics is like amateur.
Next one is the IDOR, that's the insecure direct object reference. I'll again scale the same example taken by Yuvraj, that is of an e-commerce portal. Now imagine 2 different authentic users, Alice and Bob, who are perhaps customers on the same portal. What if Alice can access and update the shipping address of Bob, and perhaps even, access the stored credit card details. Usually we have the habit of, storing our credit or debit cards on the portal for faster than, faster checkout. So what if Alice can access these stored credit card details of Bob and misuse them to exploit further? These all fall under the umbrella of IDOR, when even though Alice is an authorized user, he is not authorized to access information stored by Bob, or perhaps he should not be able to update that information or access that.
So now we'll take the next one, that is information disclosure. So I hope you guys are not bored with the e-commerce example. I'm taking the same one for better understanding here. So imagine that this entire portal is deployed on a cloud server, say. Okay, so what if an attacker is able to trigger an exploit through which he can access storage buckets of bins on this server? We all know that various companies use Amazon AWS buckets or Google Cloud buckets. So what if these buckets are kept open and are not secured? So this is potentially one of the approaches through which you can hear of credit card scams, since credit card details of millions of people are leaked by the exposed storage buckets.
And the last one, of course, the fourth pillar that we primarily focus on is the cross-site scripting. The cross-site scripting is a huge umbrella term, but what we primarily focus on is the typical variant, which is the stored accesses. I'll again take the classic example of e-commerce, but this time I'll assume that the attacker is a seller on this portal. Now, if the attacker is seller on the portal, attacker would want to know that who are those people who are trying to, view his products on this e-commerce portal. And of course, the e-commerce portal like Amazon or that of, the Indian giants as well, the Flipkart or Snapdeal, they would not give in the information of viewers unless somebody actually places the order. Now, what the attacker could do is that he could simply identify an injectable field on the product page. He could inject his custom JS there. And once that JS is in place, then every time a viewer comes to that page, a logged in viewer, then the data would be transmitted to the attacker server, and the attacker could simply get to know, oh, okay, so Alice has visited my page, or perhaps Bob has visited my page at this given date and time, and this is the email address of these respective viewers. Based on that, the attacker could then simply connect to the viewers, and they could offer, some third-party emails could be transacted, or perhaps, since the cookie can also be captured, then technically the attacker can break into the viewer's session as well. So these are the four pillars of, that drive the inquisitiveness whenever we, personally, on a personal note, we begin bug hunting. But of course, there's a lot, and it's a subjective term, as mentioned in the beginning.
So now let's move on to our favorite bug, which we have found under Google VRP. So every journey has a story, and even ours has. This was the first bug which we had ever reported, and this was even rewarded. This bug was even rewarded. So the title that you can see on screen is title of our first vulnerability, which is the objective of this vulnerability was in Google Calendar. Okay, so what was the objective? An attacker could access details of a calendar event while not being on the guest list. This is like your irritating nosy neighbor gets to know that there's a party tonight, even event details, and even who amongst your neighbors are attending it.
Sounds interesting, right? So let's see how does this happen. An attacker basically has got a pre-identified endpoint with him, and this endpoint response reveals event details and the guest list based on the event's respective event ID. Now, you all must be thinking that, how event ID can be guessed because it's an alphanumeric, random, long, extremely long string, in fact. So how can an attacker guess that? So let's take an example here. While staying away from the e-commerce examples, let's move on to some new example now. So assume that there's a virtual conference. I hope people are not imagining NullCon, but let's assume that there's a virtual conference. And that virtual conference is that attacker wishes to, get hold of the details of this entire event, the schedule, the guest list, who are the speakers, who are the delegates, and what are the contact details of these delegates, and so on. So assume that attacker wants information like this. So what an attacker can now do is he can simply subscribe for this event and immediately cancel that. Okay, in the scope of Google Calendar, I'm talking. So he can simply subscribe for the event and he can cancel that. But before doing that, he will capture the event ID. So now, since attacker has the event ID, so he can misuse this pre-identified endpoint and get the updated event or the latest event details whenever he or wherever he wants it. So even though he's not a part of this event anymore, he can always capture this data. And the worst part is that the attacker has the access to the Hangouts call as well. So for example, if this virtual conference is happening on a Hangouts call, which technically is now an obsolete or a dying product of Google, But had this been there, so the attacker could simply get into or hop into this call, and he could actually listen to the entire conference for free without, having been registered as a delegate or as a speaker there. So this vulnerability was, rewarded and was listed on a P2 priority with severity S4. And this was probably our first vulnerability, as Yuvraj mentioned. He will now probably take you quickly through, how the vulnerability was actually happening.
Yeah, so let's watch the vulnerability in action. So for instance, we had taken an attack victim who has just now created an event, and he's adding some people in this event. So let's watch it now. So what has happened here is victim has added Yuvraj as a normal man to this event, and now Yuvraj has got the event ID of this event, and now the victim realizes that he has added Yuvraj by mistake. Okay, so now what victim will do is he will remove Yuvraj from this calendar event, and now he's under assurance that Yuvraj has been completely removed from this event and he cannot access the event data. Now what Yuvraj will do is he has this event ID with him over his email. So he already has an endpoint of Google, which when triggered triggers an email on which we get the updated event details, even though he is not a guest on that event. So Shreyas, can you please play?
Yeah. So
it is
what went
not
wrong? 1 second. Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll take you through the endpoint which was vulnerable. So you can see that this endpoint was going through /calendar U0 and email. So what it does is the main parameter required over here is the event ID, which attacker already has through his email. So what he'll do is he'll put his event ID here, and what happens is the event ID here is base64 encoded. So what attacker will do is he will decode that base64 event ID, and he will find that it contains an email address. That email address is of victim, that is the owner of that event, or we can say organizer of that event. So he will take that email and put it in SRC parameter. And then we have this INV email, which is attacker's email, of course, where he wants to get that updated event details. And when all these three information are put together and the request is triggered, we get the final updated details of that event, even though attacker is not a part of that event. Shreyas, can you continue?
Yep. So what went wrong? Do you guys know as to what happened in the first? Why was this happening in the first place? So the reason is simple. As you guys mentioned, the endpoint that was quoted on the previous slide was not being managed with proper authorization roles on the backend. So in other words, there was no authorization check on the backend, which could have ensured that whether the querying user is actually authorized to request these details or not. Attackers simply leverage this improper implementation to trigger the exploit.
So now let's talk about another bug we wanted to showcase, which was found in the month of September last year, 2020. So those who are well acquainted with VRP policies, they might be aware of the fact that CSRF issues in Google Forms are not considered as security issue. They are known as intended behavior as per Google. So, well, we knew this too, but we didn't know that a simple CSRF issue could lead us to another important vulnerability, that is unauthorized access to a victim's file on his respective Google Drive. So yeah, let's move to the exploit.
So yeah, so let's see what, how it happens. So for this, an attacker would need a publicly accessible server or perhaps his own cloud where he can host a custom script, which basically is nothing but would contain just a honeypot. So for those who do not know, honeypot is nothing but a hidden input field on an HTML page. And in addition to this HTML page, the attacker is also in possession of the file ID of this target victim. So as Yuvraj mentioned, the ideology or perhaps the objective behind this vulnerability is that we want to access a target victim's target file, and we want to access in a without victim realizing it. We want to do so, right? This is the entire objective. So this honeypot is basically serving that purpose, and the custom script that I am talking about, that custom script contains an HTML form. I'll come to that later. And I'll explain probably, first as to what could be the possible target scenarios for this attack, so that you would get things better, or you would be able to comprehend it better. So assume an example of an ex-team member who belongs to, let's take an example of Alice. So Alice is an ex-team member of an important project of an organization. Obviously, Alice has the IDs of all the files that are used in this project, but now doesn't have access to these since he's an ex-team member now, right? Now, as an attacker, Alice can simply trigger this exploit to gain access to these files. Alternatively, there could be another scenario where we can talk about Alice being a panelist on a space research conference, and he's reviewing, the researches done by the several researchers from different countries who are participating, in this conference. So now, temporarily, if Alice was given access to these research papers or the research documents, that were presented during the conference, then Alice can simply, after the conference, Alice can simply trigger a networking email or a feedback email to each researcher that, okay, it was great connecting to you, and it was a great research, and those kind of networking emails could be exchanged. And during that email, while the researcher as a victim, tries to log into Alice's feedback form, or, tries to do something, Alice will silently take these details, and based on the file IDs that he had pre-captured during the conference, he can simply get access to the entire research documents, and then he can misuse as per his own flexibility and convenience. So again, the team tries this on priority P2 with severity S2 and rewarded it later. And additionally, a quick fix was issued for this one, since this was a severe vulnerability.
So now let's.
Yuvraj and Shreya just wanted to say you're running out of time, so you'll have to hurry up.
Antrix, just another 5 minutes from now, 5 to 7 minutes from now. Yeah.
Try to stick to 5 minutes, because then John is waiting for you, the next speaker.
Thanks. Thanks. No problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's review the steps to trigger this exploit. Yeah, Shreyas, can you please play the video?
Yes.
So now you can see what this is the perspective of attacker. So what an attacker here is doing, he is creating a sample form which will have a file upload functionality. Google Form allows file upload functionality. So what he will do is he will create a test question and title question, you can see, which has file upload functionality. Now what he will do is he will take the parameter. What Google does is, I'll tell you, when we create any questions in a form, so it assigns a numeric ID to that question. So what attacker here will do is he will take that ID from what we can say that test question and title question file upload parameter, and he will use it later, I'll tell you. So this was the simple HTML form to trigger the CSRF exploit. So here you can see entry.x. So what x here means is the what we can say integer ID which was generated by Google for that particular question. So attacker here will replace value x with that numeric ID. The file ID of victim will be replaced here in the next box. And yes, the attacker's form ID which was generated by attacker, the form which was generated by attacker. So this is the simple HTML form, and which when submitted will exploit the CSRF functionality, and thus the attacker will gain access to victim's file. So this is a sample phishing email. So once the link is clicked, read more, the attacker will receive victim's file. So
surprising enough, right? So do you guys now know that why this was happening? So in the beginning, we did mention that a CSRF issue in Google Forms is not considered a security issue and as an intended behavior. And in other words, that submission of Google Form is known to lack CSRF checks, and the attacker was exactly leveraging this fact. The attacker's hosted script was successfully triggered each time whenever the victim visited the link, and it auto-submitted the hidden form which internally contained the desired file ID. And since the file uploads always happen on the form owner's drive, which is why the Google Form owner was attacker, that was Alice, and hence Alice was able to capture the files each time somebody submitted or opened this, visited the malicious link. So this was an interesting sequence.
Yeah, well, with the 2 bugs, we end the trailer of our journey at Google VRP. What's upcoming is a glimpse of the tools used by us during bug hunting. So I wanted to share something here before getting into details. We do not really believe or depend on any kind of automated testing. In other words, we do belong to the list of those we don't belong to list of those ethical hackers who use automated tools for testing. We use some manual tools. So I'll categorize into 4 categories. So for penetration testing, as you all know, we use Burp Shoot, and we started using the community edition in the beginning days, and now we have purchased the enterprise edition, and it is a feature enriched tool. So yeah, it is very helpful.
The next, and since we both have got the knack for programming, so we prefer writing our own custom scripts and tools based on the use cases or the attack vector or the exact scenario. This is also beneficial for to tailor a custom thought process and execute it based on the attack scenario, and doesn't restrict us to test based on the limitations of the third-party tool that we would be using.
Yeah, and we were fortunate enough to have been introduced to the world of Unix at a tender age. The comfort to use Unix and its shell has been beneficial in encouraging us to use any Unix-based tools like for subdomain enumeration, directory traverser, etc.
And lastly, we have a couple of test beds ready for testing, and have also deployed several community edition tools based on our convenience and based on whatever the test process approach do we adopt. So for example, we were experiencing a lot of trouble and inconvenience in managing our XSS vulnerabilities. The diversity in payloads plus the diversity or the varied application ecosystems that we test in, it nurtured the idea of deploying a small tool to just manage the XSS reports. So for that, we picked up a tool, a community-driven tool named EZXSS or EaseXSS, and coupled it with our shorthand domain that we, on the 2-character top-level domain, and to smartly manage our XSS reports in future.
Yes, can you quickly share? Yeah.
Just a few stats of VRP, as to how Google VRP has been. So as you can see, there are 25 million rewards have been given to date. They have paid 1964 bug hunters, and there are they've rewarded 8900 individual people. So, and the largest rewards of all time are of course more than $1 lakh in each of the categories, the Android VRP, perhaps the Chrome VRP. And total rewards to date year on year have been growing right from $2 million in 2017 to 6.5 million USD in the past year, that was 2020. And in 2021, we are just 2 months into the year, and we have seen close to $2 lakh that have been floated around in to bug hunters. And their rewards per program this year are these, and the average response times are also commendable. That they respond to the reports typically in 24 hours, and they reward successful reports in 28 days while fixing a bug in less than 40 days. So lastly, Antrix, just another 2 minutes from here. This was important because somebody who is a bug hunter should know what is happening at Google. So Google is recently coming up with they are perhaps revamping their entire bug hunting platform. And I would like you, Raj, to take everybody quickly through this platform.
So yeah, so before moving on to questions, we had something in store for everyone. Any guesses? Yeah. So as you can see on the video, Google has completely revamped the Google Bug Hunters portal. Yes, the old conventional one is there, but with a countdown, and it will be vanished soon. So we are happy to present a sneak peek, and it will be released. I don't know the exact date, but in the coming months, it will be released soon. So the portal has been completely changed. And what main thing I have observed here is, like HackerOne, reports can be publicly disclosed on this portal. So it was not available earlier, but now the reports can be publicly disclosed on this platform. And Google has put various things for new bug hunters, like Bug Hunter University has been put up, from where new bug hunters who are just now joining or learning how to hunt for bugs, they have lots and lots of documentations and information available so that they can learn new things. Google has also put up their scope of where they want vulnerabilities, their targets, that has also been put up by Google. And this is the leaderboard. One more thing here is we can appeal for reward. Like it was not available earlier, we had to just write comments and all. So we can appeal for reward. Like if we are not satisfied with what reward has been provided to us by Google, so we can appeal directly from this portal as well. So it will be released soon for all of the other bug hunters.
And you can also request, to make your reports public. So once the research, the security team from there, one of the members from the team approves, the Google VRP team member, of course, then your report can be made public simply via just one single click, and it will be visible on the public portal of Google VRP, the new upcoming portal.
Yeah, so on the closing note, we thank the audience present here for joining us today, and we hope that this session was valuable for each and every one of you. Stay safe and let's meet again, but not
Let's
virtually.
next in person at Nalcon, the next Nalcon, whenever it happens.
Yeah,
Antrik,
let's
you
meet
would be the
again.
better person to answer this here, but come up soon with a, in-person Nalcon.
Absolutely. Stay tuned. Follow us on social media. We have some exciting news to share very soon.